if 1, 2, 4y and S6, 3, 5 are the vertices of a parallelogram taken in order, find x and y. Before we start the sum, let us see a property of the parallelogram. Now here is a parallelogram ABCD, and why do we call it a parallelogram ABCD? We call it a parallelogram because the opposite sides are parallel. There is an important property of this parallelogram. This parallelogram has got two diagonals. One is AC and the other is BD, these two diagonals. And these diagonals, they bisect. So I have a point O here. I will say this is equal to this one, which means AO equal to OC, and on the other side my DO equal to OB. If this diagonal bisects, means the midpoint of both of them is same. O is midpoint of BD, and O is also midpoint of AC. We have to keep this in mind, that the midpoint of both the diagonals is same. Then we have to know another thing about section formula. When we have midpoint, suppose I have a point here A, B, x1, y1, and I have x2, y2. And I say that P is a midpoint. This is xy. It is a midpoint. If what you mean by midpoint means it divides the segment in a ratio 1:1. So this is 1:1. And the formula for x will be, your x will always be x1 plus x2 divided by 2. You put section formulas and you say 1 into x1, 1 into x2. And your y will always be, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. Because here your m1 is 1, your m2 also is 1. Here in the next case, your m1 is 1 and your m2 also is 1. So it comes, x becomes equal to x1 plus x2 divided by 2, and here for y, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. These are the two things you need to remember when you have midpoint. Now in the sum, let us draw a parallelogram again. So this is a parallelogram given to us, and the four vertices of the parallelogram are given. One vertex is A, then we have B, then we have C, and we have D. So let us put it up. So we have A, and A is 1, 2. Then we have B, and B is 4, y. Then we have C is x and 6, and we have D is 3 and 5. Now we use the diagonals. So let's take the first diagonal AC. Now for diagonal AC, let's find the midpoint. We know your A is 1 and 2. That means x1 is 1 and your x1 is 1 and y1 is 2. For your point C, we're taking the diagonal AC. For C is x and 6, which means your x2 is x and your y2 is 6. Now we are going to find the midpoint. And I said the formula for midpoint, x equal to what? x1 plus x2 divided by 2. So the midpoint of AC, x, will be equal to, your x1 you know is 1, your x2 is x divided by 2. We'll now continue from the earlier. So we were doing for diagonal AC, and we know our A was 1, 2, which means x1 is 1, your y1 is 2, and C, coordinates of C was x and 6, x2 is x and your y2 is 6. Now to find midpoint of AC, and the formula for midpoint is x equal to x1 plus x2 divide by 2. So your x is, you saw your x1 is 1, your x2, now your x2 is x that we don't know, over 2. So this is the value of x. So remember, the midpoint of AC we have found. Now the x coordinate. Now let's go for the y coordinate. Now we know the formula for y coordinate. Y will be y1 plus y2 divided by 2. So y equal to, what is y1? y1 is 2. y2 is 6 divided by 2. So y equal to 8 divided by 2, and your y will be 4. So when it comes to AC, the midpoint of AC is x over 2, and the other point is 4. This is the. So here basically we found x, the midpoint of AC, and then we go ahead and find the midpoint of the y coordinate of the midpoint, which we have done here. Y equal to, we have done y1 plus y2 divided by 2. Then we did y equal to, here if you see, 2 plus 6 divided by 2. We worked this out and we got the y as 4. So for AC, we found the midpoint of AC. This is midpoint of AC. That is the x coordinate of this midpoint, and this is a y coordinate of the midpoint of AC. Now we'll go to BD and find the midpoint of BD. Now for diagonal BD, we have B coordinates are 4 and y, which means x1 is 4, y1 is y, and D we know is 3, 5, which means x2 is 3 and y2 is 5. Let's find the midpoint. We know the formula for midpoint. Midpoint formula for x will be x1 plus x2 divided by 2. Remember, we are finding midpoint of BD. Your x1 is 4, your x2 is 3. So 4 plus 3 divided by 2. That is 7 by 2. Now let us find the y coordinate. So we know y1 plus y2 divided by 2. So y1 is this, y2 is this, y plus 5 divided by 2. So midpoint of BD is this, that is 7 by 2, 5 plus y by 2. Now if we go back, we found the midpoint of AB is 1 plus x by 2 and 4. And midpoint of BD, we found it as 7 by 2 and plus y by 2, this. But we know this, both these midpoints are the same. Both are this point 0, this point O. So I can say now that these two are equal. The x coordinate of this is equal to this, because this is the one and the same point. So I can say x plus over 2 equal to 7 by 2. And on the other side, I could say that these two are also equal. The y coordinate is the same because it is a midpoint. It is a y coordinate of the same. So y plus over 2 is equal to 4. And when I solve this, I will get 2 into x equal to 7 into 2. 2 plus 2x equal to 14. 2x equal to 12. And your x becomes equal to 6. And for your y, I can say here y plus equal to 4 into 2. Your y will be 8 minus 5. Your y will be equal to 3. That's your y is 3. So let's just go over this sum. What we did is we were given a parallelogram. And in that parallelogram, first we found the midpoint of one diagonal. Say here, this was the midpoint. Then we found the midpoint of the other diagonal. And both the midpoints coincided with one another. It was one and the same. So we did x of one equal to x of the other midpoint and y of one equal to y of the other when we found both the midpoints.